Okay, so this is part two of the ugly and going into the bad. So, just very, very quick. I want to do this. Okay, Lois Lane, Clark Kent. Lois Lane. I hate when critics do this. I really do despise it when they confuse uh, poor writing with a poor acting. And that is exactly what's happened to Amy Adams here. She did very, very well as Lois Lane, really, really good, and I'm sure she can pull off a brilliant, fantastic Lois Lane. However, the writing for her character sometimes was like absolutely atrocious. Sometimes it was really good. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I really dug it, but like, sometimes it was really, really off, and just in ways you're like, are you serious? So I'm going to talk about Lois and Clark right now in this part of the Man of Steel review, because this is a huge, huge, major, massive, probably the biggest issue I have with the film. This, I'm going to say this again, they should have modelled this, if not completely, but like try to think along the lines of what the magic they captured in Batman Begins. And what is that magic? They told the journey of someone becoming a man, a mere mortal, to a legend, Mr. Wayne. And those bits, in that film give me chills. Like you see Bruce Wayne struggling with angst before he becomes the Batman. This kind of creature of vengeance of the night. Before he meets his arch nemesis, and before he meets, the love interests of his life, before Commissioner Gordon becomes Commissioner Gordon, all of these things are kind of set up. It's really Batman Begins. Now, this movie, again, premature, like, really, okay, Lois Lane shouldn't have been in this movie, that's the first thing. In Superman Law, his first love interest is Lorna Lang, pardon me. Lorna Lang, even Smallville got that right. And Smallville's terrible, and Smallville got that right, so this had no excuse. Okay, so anyway, the flipping around of the film, I've kind of dealt with, but I should have just mentioned that a couple of extra scenes would have made this, again, such a good movie. So much better than it is. Even though it is a good movie, it would have made it so much better than it is. A scene, just a simple scene with the Kents looking after Clark as a little baby, maybe when he was 3 or something, and then seeing one of his powers, just one of his powers, one thing that he can do, and then them suddenly realizing that this guy isn't just shot from space, he's also, and maybe a little discussion of how they're going to deal with it. Another scene where you see, Pa Kent or Ma Kent teaching him some kind of moral value, little bit of moral value. I'm not going to be as hard on this part as the critics are, because I think this was a Superman Begins, and it should have been about the Pa Kent's lessons in this is strictly about the fear that society is going to have of him. The next movie I'm hoping will move on to getting some idea of where Clark gets his morality from, and I'm hoping Pa Kent plays a much greater role in that, because Kevin Costner was brilliant in this movie, which I will talk about in the good part of the movie. But let's go on to Lois and Clark. Now, the whole idea is this guy's trying to hide his identity from the world, okay? Yet, I don't see him having any sense of paranoia about the discovery of these powers in his older age. He has more of that in his younger age than he does in his older age, which doesn't make any sense for me. You know, it completely takes away all that tension of, you know, oh, when is Superman finally gonna like explode and show everyone what he can do. He's, you know, using his laser vision on Lois like very early on in the movie. She discovers who he is like the drop of a hat. And I want to go over this bit just really quickly, by the way. Drop of a hat discovers who he is. He admits it straight away to her, even though she's a reporter for the Daily Planet, and that could, you know, make her millions upon millions if she leaks it or lets it out. Finally, this is astounding. Now, if you guys have watched the movie, I'm hoping you're listening to this review after watching the movie. I hope at this point of the movie you gasped as well and were like, what a load of bollocks. It was a part where Superman, first of all, does the most stupid thing ever. He comes in to save his mother from Zod when there's two other Kryptonians with Zod who have just thrown his mother to the ground like a rag doll, which could have potentially killed her. And instead of him trying to take out all three, he just goes straight for Zod, smashes him through a number of different shops, probably killing loads of people on the way, and you know, a gas station, loads of explosions, leaving, not only killing those people, but also leaving two potentially homicidal Kryptonians with his mother, and doing nothing about that. Luckily, the Kryptonians, you know, were obviously in a particularly pleasant mood, or, you know, something, maybe Martha Kent was charming and made them a cup of tea in between. They were like, oh, you know, let's talk girl stuff, because one of them was Fiora, and it was like, well, you know, that's a really hip hairstyle you have, Martha Kent, and she was like, you know, I quite like your costume, you know, because I don't know what was going on in between him punching Zod and just leaving these two Kryptonians with his mother. It makes no sense. And then, so finally, this is his act of saving his mother, like, you know, punching these, you know, saying, Zod, don't you ever hurt my mother, whatever, not thinking about the other two. And then, finally he comes back and Martha Kent is okay. The other Kryptonians obviously left for some reason, maybe to protect Zod. I don't know what their reason was for not killing his mother. And he comes back, he hugs his mother and says, are you okay? So they're right in front of the house, the Kent's house, with the Kent Post letterbox right in front. Lois Lane comes up in a police car, which is kind of taken her to the Kent's house, and with the police standing right in front of her after she said, oh, I'm gonna try and keep your identity secret and everything like that. So, you know, I'm trying, you know, I'm never gonna let your secret out. She just shouts out, Clark, are you okay, Clark? Or something along those lines. And I'm just looking at the rest of the audience thinking, did she just do that? Those are two cops right there. They're not going to remember like something like that. The guy that, you know, he flies and has laser vision and whatever, that they went to the house and he was hugging some random woman and who happens to have a son who's obviously registered as Clark. And you know, I was completely and utterly baffled. So she shouts out Clark because they're not calling him Superman, because they want to be ultra realistic about it, and it's either Kal-El or Clark, and Superman has to have some supposed reverence. So yeah, in front of the two policemen, she completely puts Superman on blast. Um, and this is the whole problem with this relationship, as she knows who Superman is. It just takes away so much of the energy and fun from that relationship, and to try and place that in a realistic world. And they didn't do it with Batman, so I don't know why are they doing it with Superman. What difference does it make? You know, Rachel didn't know who Batman was. Why does Lois have to know who Superman is? You know, and this is why, if they wanted that kind of reveal, they should have saved Lois, saved her, and then everybody would have been like really anticipating, like who's going to be Lois? What's Lois going to be like? Who's it going to be? And you know, right at the end, like the last scene, it could have been, you know, I finally decided what to do. You know, after saving the whole planet. I need some kind of disguise where I can find out about what's going wrong in the world. You know, puts on the glasses, walks into the Daily Planet, and Lois Lane says something to him like, you know, like, hello, Smallville, or something like that. You know, completely dismissive of him after being completely in reverence to this Superman who saves Metropolis. So it could have been like just 2 scenes with Lois Lane in. And that would have been perfect. But they had to put the full cast in a Superman Begins movie before he's even become a journalist, and that's the problem. This should have been the story of Lara Lang and Superman. You know, like Lara Lang could have found out his secret identity, and it would have been fine. It wouldn't have taken away anything from Superman Raw, because she actually does discover that in the comics. So yeah, again, just a real failing in terms of the Lois Lane and Clark Kent relationship. So I now want to go on to some of the bad. Now, I saw so many messianic references, you know, to Jesus and the whole Christian, you know, Judeo-Christian kind of, you know, martyr, you know, it was worse than bloody The Matrix. I mean, it was so obvious. There was one scene where Superman floats out of the ship in the crucifix position. There's another scene, this was the most, I was just like, oh my god. There's another scene, right, where Zod, and I don't know if anyone noticed this, so Zod says he's taken Superman to the ships. He's done something where now they've got some Kryptonian technology where they can go into somebody's consciousness, they can enter it, and you know, supposedly by some kind of connection or whatever. And he takes him to the Kent farm, and he's like, oh, so this is who you are, you're like, you know, this farmer boy. And then, you know, he's kind of like playing almost, well, you know, the kind of rational temptation, the kind of Mephistopheles of you know, of this kind of movies, tempting this Christ-like figure who's better than man to betray man. Okay, and he says, you know, we've been searching for you for 33 years, giving away Superman's age, which is 33 years old, obviously in the movie. Then he goes on to try and tempt Clark into betraying the human race, because he should be, you know, he should be helping the Kryptonians, because really that's who he is. He's better than man. He's more than man, and it's his Kryptonian kin that he should be helping. So it's literally the Bible story where you have Christ going into the desert tempted by the devil into betraying humanity in his 33rd year. He was 33 years old when this happens in the Bible, and you've got the same thing happening with the devil, you know, like tempting Superman to betray humanity. You know, he's better than humanity. If he wanted to, he could, you know, rule over them or whatever, enslave them, or you know, or just completely slaughter them to repopulate the world with gods like himself. And of course, you know, Superman goes against this temptation of the devil. And I just thought, wow, it's really cheesy. I mean, I just think it's really, there's always been this kind of feeling of, you know, Superman as acting like that, but to put such emphasis on it is just really kind of cheap and ridiculous. I think there's no need. You know, you got that from the Christopher Reeves movies without having to be so explicitly blatant. Like, you know, the fact that they even mention 33 years, you know, like the exact age of Jesus Christ when he was tempted by the devil, and they're kind of in a kind of like, you know, it's almost like a deserty kind of area, and then he falls into the skulls of all the humans, and it was just, I thought it was interesting, you know, and I'm not going to be too hard on them for exploring things in that way, but I just thought it was kind of like, alright, whatever. So now Superman's Jesus, so Jesus is some flying guy with lasers who can, you know, who goes around punching people through buildings with little or no regard for anybody in the buildings or whatever. But anyway, so there was that. And then we'll follow the video with the rest of the bad and the good.